Diddy Sean is upset as he claims that federal authorities are leaking critical information about his case. Interestingly, he's the very individual who is insisting on revealing the names of the alleged victims involved in his sexual misconduct case.
He's a monster. He's literally a monster.
The billionaire rapper.
I'm a savage! Oh!
Now facing some serious music.
This man is gonna go down.
Now, the spotlight is on Mark Agnifilo, who is representing Diddy Sean in court. Agnifilo suspects that the prosecution has been disclosing evidence sourced from confidential grand jury proceedings. In a rather major accusation, it appears that Agnifilo is alleging that the federal officials provided news organizations with insider information about raids conducted on Diddy Sean's residences in Miami and Los Angeles. The presumption here is that the authorities intentionally overestimated the danger Diddy Sean posed to make him look like a threat. Moreover, Agnifilo alleges that the prosecutors strategically leaked footage of Diddy Sean's altercation with Cassie Ventura in a hotel, taking advantage of a slow news cycle to tarnish his reputation further.
That was captured inside of a Los Angeles hotel in 2016 allegedly shows Combs assaulting then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a hallway. A now settled lawsuit filed by Ventura claimed that she was trying to leave the hotel after a drunken Combs punched her. The video appears to show Combs chasing her down the hall, throwing her to the ground, and then repeatedly kicking her.
Agnifilo is adamant about having this video dismissed from the list of potential evidence. Additionally, he's asking the judge to enforce a gag order. In response to this, Subramaniam, the judge presiding over the case, consents to impose a gag order. He's given Agnifilo the responsibility of drafting the related document. Now it seems that Diddy is complaining about federal authorities exposing information that isn't true. However, that's not really what happened. The real question arises: who is accountable for that questionable video? Broadcasting television host Nancy Grace has a theory. She suggests that it's Sean Combs who should be taking responsibility for that video. According to Nancy, he's the one caught on camera strutting up and down a hotel corridor, wearing nothing but a towel. Unsurprisingly, the federal authorities have swiftly responded to this, labeling the accusation as downright ludicrous. What the counsel is asserting is the notion that grand jury proceedings should ideally remain confidential, preventing any potentially harmful information from being disclosed to the public. Moreover, there's been a narrative built around an alleged military operation on his properties, being portrayed as overly severe. This seems to be an attempt on his part to steer this narrative and shift the focus back onto the government, especially considering the significant amount of criticism he's garnered, and understandably so. It's a rather dangerous game to provoke and rile up federal agents. It's like catching a tiger by its tail, an incredibly difficult situation, as it's equally difficult to maintain your grip or let go. Claims are being made that this controversial video was leaked by federal agents. But let's also consider the other potential sources: hotel staff and Cassie Ventura. If she was indeed the source of the video, then why should she hide that fact? If you are enjoying this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more exciting videos. Unless, of course, Diddy suggests that the video was fabricated through artificial intelligence. But if that's the case, then why were there allegations of Diddy bribing hotel employees to suppress a video that supposedly didn't exist? Taunting federal agents and accusing them of leaking sensitive information is not advisable at this point. We need to remember that there is a looming prosecution relating to the murder case of Tupac Shakur. And let us not forget about the notorious Biggie Smalls, who is no longer with us. Furthermore, it's worth noting that right before, or to be more precise, the night before his arrest, federal agents were liaising with the prosecutors handling the Shakur murder case. What does this tell us? To me, it implies that more charges could be on the horizon. There are also claims that feds found thousands of bottles of baby oil in his home, suspected to be laced with GHB, also known as gamma-hydroxybutyrate, or the date substance. You might know that you can absorb cannabis oil through your skin, essentially infusing your body with THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. Could the same be said for this so-called date substance? That's a question hanging in the air. Regardless, this story has already started to make headlines. Diddy is constantly trying to skirt responsibility by pointing fingers at the federal authorities for his inappropriate behavior in a hotel hallway. He was seen parading around almost nude, just in a towel. Moreover, he was accused of assaulting Cassie Ventura. Diddy has been accustomed to manipulating the people around him through authority and domination for numerous years. He appears to believe that he could use those same tactics against the federal authorities. It seems like the pattern he exhibits in his offenses is consistent. He allegedly stalks his victims, attacks them, and possibly blames them, making them feel guilty for occurrences that aren't their fault. In this scenario, it seems like he's also trying to attack the federal authorities in his own way. He always seems to follow the same behavior pattern, although it manifests in countless variations. However, in this particular case, he isn't accusing or assaulting an underage individual or an adult worker. Instead, he's blaming a federal organization. It might turn out that he won't be able to exert the power he's habituated to wielding his entire life, as he's currently engaged in this blame game, which persistently continues. We're likely going to witness victim blaming in this case soon. However, before we dive into that, it seems like people have already started to defame the victims. We can't continue this blaming pattern in our justice system. We need to eliminate this habit in 2024. Let's focus on the primary issue: the several victims coming forward with similar allegations against Diddy. Remember, these victims don't know each other. Their collective stories may indicate a larger issue. As the saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. We need to pay less attention to Diddy's complaints and his lawyer's attempts to divert attention by constantly mentioning the federal authorities. Diddy, or Dirty Diddy, could face serious charges based solely on the video evidence from Cassie. Can you imagine stepping into a building, fully aware that the people inside might be armed? Apparently, it's being said that it's the federal authorities' fault because they staged what's being called a military-style raid on a mansion. However, whenever one is executing such an operation, things have to be done as per the worst-case prediction. If there are hints of weapons inside the building, you act with caution and speed. You adhere to the rules and guidelines to ensure no member of your team gets hurt. That's the standard procedure, whether it's in a tiny apartment in the Bronx or in a plush house like Diddy's. That's how search warrants and raids are conducted. No exceptions. Weapons were discovered in the bedroom, along with a stash of items worth approximately $220,000, including $20,000 worth of tennis shoes. More weapons were retrieved from the site of the raid, and it's not looking good. There were 3 AR-15s, all tampered with. The only reason one would deface an AR-15 is pretty ominous. Yet, the blame is being shifted elsewhere. As a matter of fact, Diddy is protesting behind bars against the federal authorities leaking information. The feds, however, deny any such occurrence. As someone who has served at MDC, Dr. Hendricks brings to light that prisons are not designed for one's comfort. But understanding this, it's not a surprise to hear about discomfort. A point was raised about the discomforting food conditions in the prison. Your standard food truck serving gourmet meals won't be found delivering delicious delights to these facilities. However, allegations about food poisoning are completely baseless. Yet, it seems that concerns about in-prison meals are being met with indifference. It's worth noting that over 36 million children nationwide might resonate with this perspective. Complaints about the cafeteria food are not warmly welcomed by the head of food services. Meanwhile, it's an everyday responsibility of the institution's duty officer, who serves as the representative of the executive staff during non-business hours, to taste the food served once a day. This practice serves to ensure the palatability of the meals. In a nutshell, the routine ensures that, while not gourmet, the food is undoubtedly edible. Diddy is upset because he doesn't have his own personal cook, and he's not happy about being locked up. He's blaming the people who are supposed to take care of our country's laws. He says that this video wasn't actually released by the law enforcers. Still, someone from Cassie Ventura's side might have an idea about how it got out there.
CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister has that exclusive report.
New surveillance footage obtained exclusively by CNN appears to corroborate some of the allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The video, captured on multiple cameras, shows Combs assaulting his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a hallway at a Los Angeles hotel in March 2016. A lawsuit filed by Ventura in November last year and settled the next day referenced actions that seem to match those seen in this video.
Mark Agnifilo, the defense investigator, has spoken with many of these night workers who were involved in Diddy's naughty escapades. Most of them, if not all, say that it never felt okay or agreed upon. They say that no one was too intoxicated to understand the nature of their actions. If you are enjoying this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more exciting videos. However, even if the victims did agree, the state might argue that due to Diddy's enormous wealth and power, the victims might have felt like they didn't really have a choice but to agree. They're saying that this is a kind of force used in such activities. Diddy lives lavishly, and with that comes a lot of odd purchases. Take, for instance, when he bought a huge amount of baby oil. This baby oil story has a dark twist. There are new claims that Diddy, or members of his team, added a date substance to the baby oil. This info isn't gossip, by the way. It comes from a legal document and a lawsuit. Over the past couple of days, several new complaints have been filed. These claims suggest that Diddy had a particular liking for a specific date substance. This substance was supposedly mixed in with drinks like champagne or lemon drop cocktails. Keep in mind that this substance isn't just added to drinks. There's also the unheard of case of adding the substance to body lotion and, you guessed it, baby oil. According to Dr. Bethany Marshall, the substance would be absorbed quicker if it was mixed with the baby oil and then injected into the victims. This would then allow the substance to get into the bloodstream faster. And remember, these victims weren't just ladies. There were boys and men too, which suggests something even more shocking was going on. The unsuspecting victims were given substances horrifyingly. The idea of having thousands of victims is truly mind-boggling and frightening. It's said that the effects of the substance can last for several hours. This aligns with the victims' claims that they had a drink and then woke up later in pain. In addition to the ongoing lawsuits, another claim was made against Diddy by a woman named Ashley Parham. She alleges that Diddy poured the baby oil on her before a horrific event took place. She says that this was a revenge act because she claimed that Diddy was involved in a hit on Tupac Shakur. John Doe, who filed a lawsuit in 2008, backs up Dr. Bethany's statement. He mentioned that after a frightening event, he felt something leaking from him. This made him feel unwell because he thought it was one thing when it actually wasn't. This made his trauma even worse.
This morning, watch how federal agents took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs. His lawyer said Combs had come to New York 2 weeks earlier with the intention of turning himself in. He did not expect the agents to be waiting at his hotel last Monday night.
There's a video from Sean Combs Diddy's official Instagram account. It involves a mother who claims that her son Sean Combs is a victim of public lynching due to federal and civil lawsuits against him. Somehow, we don't think the alleged victims would agree. This mother showed up in court in a rather flashy style. Let's look at what happened on that day. Sean Combs Diddy was seen in front of a new judge named Arun Subramanian. He had a big smile on his face and was wearing tan jail clothes. His mother, Janice Combs, was there in a tiger print coat and sparkly sunglasses, along with 6 of Combs' 7 children. Despite the heckling, Combs seemed in high spirits, blowing kisses to his family and showing them he was praying. On that day, Diddy was told he might face some extra charges. They also set an official trial date. Many people saw the MDC bus, and it gave them chills to think about how far Diddy had fallen. His lawyers didn't say much afterward, which was disappointing. They're going to try again for bail, with plans for 24/7 surveillance on Diddy if he is granted bail. During the hearing, Judge Subramanian said he was open to hearing bail arguments. But attorney Mark Agnifilo didn't want to comment further. Another bail argument was filed in appeals court, which claims Judge Andrew Carter made his ruling based on speculation, not hard evidence. The defense is claiming that the bail was denied based on speculative information. There were claims about Diddy fleeing the country or threatening witnesses. Lauren Piciotta, Kanye West's former assistant, is the first high-profile celebrity to be accused of misconduct at a Diddy party. She woke up one morning with no memory of the previous night, which made her think someone had laced her drink. Years later, West mentioned their encounter, and it was then that Lauren realized West had sexually assaulted her. Let's discuss what Lauren is accusing Kanye of. No, it's not about him being an exhibitionist. Have you noticed how Kanye often fully dresses while his wife is nearly nude? The main point here is about some serious allegations made by people who claim to be victims. So, how did Kanye get into this mess? He's said to have thrown a party with Diddy. This lawsuit actually began back in June 2024. Kanye's assistant claimed physical harassment and wrongful termination. Later, she added a charge of physical assault. When a case comes up, the accused initially denies knowing the victim. Then, they admit to having met them casually. And finally, they claim any interaction was consensual. If pressured further, they plead guilty. Right now, though, the defense is busy trying to discredit the victims, calling them names and accusing them of being money-hungry cheaters. That's not good. The defense strategy seems to be to scare any potential future witnesses by threatening to ruin their lives by digging into their past. This is a strong-arming potential witness to keep them from coming forward. But sometimes, the more you push a person down, the stronger they get. Sean Combs wants to name all his accusers. He's also asking that all those who might testify against him be named by the prosecution. His lawyer thinks that heaps of unnamed lawsuits are causing a media frenzy, which doesn't create a fair environment for a trial. Diddy's lawyer, Mark Angifilo, specifically mentions Tony Busby's press conference, where he claimed to represent over 100 anonymous victims, calling it nothing more than a publicity stunt. Agnifilo explains that the best way to make sure their defense is solid is by knowing exactly who is accusing them.
Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn him.
This eliminates any surprises. This is why a bill of indictment has all the details of the witnesses, including names, addresses, and contact numbers. This helps to ensure that it's not a surprise attack on the defendants, as they already know who the witnesses are. What Combs is doing is attempting to divulge the identities of the victims publicly, which is just another trick. The first argument is shocking that all these victims are just opportunists, a claim that feels distasteful to even repeat. After that, they try to shame them. These victims definitely want to avoid confrontation about their experiences. Many have already made it known that they are part of the civil case. But what's the strategy behind all this? It appears that it's all about causing disorder, shouting loudly, and saying outrageous things to shame women specifically. But we mustn't forget men either. They want to scare everyone. That's why many people are afraid to step forward in these cases. The defense's strategy seems to be suggesting that these women voluntarily went to the place where the incidents occurred. We should also be considering the men and minors involved in these events. They often get less attention. Despite all the noise, the public is smart enough to see through the facades. According to Dr. Hendricks, who used to work at MDC Brooklyn and as a senior warden with the detention center for 30 years, Sean Combs is safer in Manhattan Detention Center than being out on bail due to the dangers outside.
Every day the institution duty officer, the person, supervisory staff member that's there in the evenings, on the weekends, as a representative for the executive staff, they check or they actually taste one meal per day. And by policy is to make sure the food is palatable. So basically,
okay, wait a minute. Let me see Hendricks, please. Dr. Joanne Hendricks. Now, you've been in the system for 30 years, but I detect that you are reading. You have to look down to see how many times they get food?
No, what I'm saying is I'm just wanting to make sure my notes are right in terms of what the policy requirements are. So what I'm saying is every day someone is checking to make sure the food is palatable. Edible,
okay,
sorry.
Yes, but Diddy doesn't have his private chef, so he's whining about it. So bottom line, Sean Combs is whining.
However, some may wonder if Sean Combs could be harmed by the MDC. Dr. Hendricks confidently says no, not particularly if sheltered in a special unit for his ongoing process. However, if convicted of the alleged crimes, it would be difficult for him to integrate with other inmates in prison. Missteps have been made in the past, like in the case of Epstein. Dr. Hendricks said, "I don't want Sean to be harmed. I want him to look presentable when he appears in front of the jury. I believe that behind that composed exterior, there might be a predator." Dr. Hendricks acknowledges this, noting that two things are unwelcome in prison: being an informer and being a physical offender. If convicted, Sean Combs could face issues for his alleged crimes against minors and children.
Sean Combs is whining about being behind bars. He's blaming the feds. It's their fault the Cassie video was leaked, which it wasn't leaked by the federal agents. I suspect someone on the Cassie Ventura side may know how it got out, but blaming the victims is the single worst thing he's doing. When you find out what his trial strategy is going to be, that's it.
In Alabama, a woman claimed that she was only a 13-year-old girl when Sean Combs allegedly molested her in the year 2000. Now, this situation is not good for Combs, either for his work or for all the legal troubles he's facing. All of this drama is not part of his actual court case. Combs' lawyers are not happy about this. They are saying there's too much talk about these lawsuits and the criminal case, and it all needs to stop.
And then just last month, a former employee of Combs filed a suit also in the state of New York, accusing him of sexual assault, of sexual harassment, and, quote, grooming. That former employee stated that he had worked for Combs between 2022 and 2023. Among those allegations, this former employee, a male employee, said that Combs did not compensate him for his music production work and forced him to procure and interact with sex workers, threatened him with serving alcoholic beverages laced with drugs to guests at parties at Combs' home. And then Combs' son, Justin Combs, was also accused of soliciting prostitutes and underage girls at his father's homes. Again, the Combs have denied any wrongdoing, but just a series of allegations.
Diddy's lawyers sent a letter to a judge, Mr. Subramanian. They wrote it to protect Combs, using the local rule numbered 23.1 and the Fifth and Sixth Amendments. They are asking the judge for an order to stop any further out-of-court comments that could mess with Combs' right to a fair trial. Now, the Sixth Amendment is all about making sure everyone gets a fair trial. The Fifth Amendment, among other things, helps ensure no one loses their life, freedom, or property without following the proper steps. This local rule, number 23.1 of the Southern District of New York, where this case is being tried, sets the rules for what lawyers can and cannot say outside of court about a case. The lawyers for Combs are saying that, like everyone else, he also deserves a fair trial. These discriminatory statements made by the media are not fair. They're worried that these comments could spoil the entire group from which jurors are chosen for his case. With these comments being repeated across the media, it could become a serious problem. It's important to remember that everyone has a right to a fair trial. However, if potential jurors are influenced by all these comments, this could prevent it from happening. There's a possible trial date in May 2025, and this pretrial publicity is a significant concern. It becomes even more important in high-profile cases where potential jurors could be influenced by all the information they see. This is why sometimes courts have to step in and establish a rule, a gag order it's called, to ensure everyone stays quiet about the case. And this is exactly what Combs' defense team is asking for. They say this is their last option, and there are no other ways to handle the situation. Diddy's lawyers claim that their client, Mr. Combs, has been the victim of a never-ending series of accusations. These were made by folks who may potentially be witnesses, along with their lawyers, and shared across different news channels. Their intent was to damage Mr. Combs' reputation, not in an official courtroom, but in the eye of the public. To illustrate their point, his lawyers give various examples. They point out an article from Billboard on May 2024, where folks accused Combs of being unkind. They also bring up another article in which a lawyer for Cassandra Ventura accused Mr. Combs of giving a dishonest apology. This apology was for an incident that supposedly happened in a hotel corridor in 2 and 16 caught on a security camera. An important point made by Combs' lawyers is that the prosecution hasn't named any of the victims or individuals who will be witnesses. This, they note, is typical in a federal case. The identities of these people may not even be revealed until the trial is about to start. However, Diddy's defense team argues that since the government hasn't named anyone, Combs must consider every accuser's claim, no matter how silly or bizarre, as coming from a possible witness. In other words, Diddy and his defense team must be mindful of all public commentary, as they have to assume everyone could be linked to his criminal case. This includes statements made to the press, media, and public, which could unfairly hurt Diddy's rights in his criminal case. There's another problem that Sean Diddy's defense lawyers highlight. The lawyers of the potential witnesses have endorsed their client's honesty and character and have given their own opinions about the potential evidence. This is all happening even before Combs has been charged or indicted. To make matters worse, these lawyers have also appeared on several media outlets, sharing their opinions and comments about the alleged crimes. They've even talked about additional cases that are not related to Diddy's case at all. All of this could unfairly influence potential jurors and prevent Diddy from receiving a fair trial. What's your take, guys? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay updated on all the latest news and updates in this case. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.